another filler episode where it's relevant for character development but not for the plot being the books that I actually read. But welcome to my Summer Splash Readathon TBR bash. TBR. I will disclaim to begin that this is a guide because, as we all know, I'm a mood reader and I like to read books based on how I feel at the time. Literally the definition of mood reader, Michaela. However, your girl has a TBR physically of over 70 books. So this is a necessary readathon for us to participate in because I need to get rid of some of them. It's an entire 2 shelves and a cart at this point in time. The Summer Splash Readathon, if you haven't heard, is a readathon that is created and hosted by Sally Thames. I will leave her channel link down below, as well as the Instagram for this readathon if you also want to participate, because it's gonna be a good time. There's heaps of like awesome creators that are joining in. There's gonna be like challenges and stuff to do. Today is actually day 1, so today is the 1st of July for me. So what a perfect time to be filming this to tell you about the books that I'm gonna read in July. Is she insane and trying to read 1 book per prompt? Yes, but again, it's a guide. And there are some books in this stack that fulfill multiple prompts if I don't get around to reading some of the other ones. So we have our prompts, we have our books, let's begin. So the prompt number 1 is Surf's Up, which is read a book with a body of water on the cover. And I have picked The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie O, which is in fact entirely water on the cover. So this is a fantasy book that is based around a girl named Meera. She lives in a village that every year they sacrifice someone to the sea god. And this year her brother's fiance was sacrificed and the brother jumps in to save the fiance, and then she jumps in to save the brother. It should be interesting. I bought this because of the beautiful body of water cover. It sounds fantastical, it sounds whimsical, and I think that it's meant to be like, yeah, it says perfect for fans of Uprooted and Miyazaki's Spirited Away. So I'm all here for it. Next is Roots, which is read a childhood favorite. For this one, I will be reading The Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane by Kate DiCamillo. This one is in fact a children's storybook that is still like chapters and still like more words than what you would give to a child to read in one sitting. But it follows our main character, Edward Tulane. He is a porcelain rabbit and he starts our story by falling overboard of a ship. He gets lost in the ocean for a few years, and then the story follows him as he passes through many hands of many adults, and it tells a story of how a doll can affect people's lives. It's just a beautiful character profile story. I cry every time I read it. This reread was prompted by my cousin who got a tattoo of Edward Tulane. I'm excited to jump back into it. It's been years since I've read this one, and I think it's one of those ones that I will continue to read for the rest of my life. And if you haven't read it, you should, because it is amazing. Next, I had to buy a book for this because I didn't have one that suited the prompt on my TBR, but it was a book that I was probably gonna read anyway. It's also a book that I think everyone else is reading for this prompt in this readathon, and it is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Now, I did a reading vlog a couple of weeks ago, and it was reading Emily Henry's other book, which was Beach Read, which would have been perfect because that one's also set in summer. But Book Lovers is a similar enemies to lovers contemporary romance book that follows our main characters Nora and Chris. Nope, Charlie. Nora and Charlie. Nora's a literary agent. Charlie is a editor, I believe, and they end up going on a vacation at the same place. Nora goes with her sister. However, they don't like each other, hence the enemies to lovers, and I presume that they spend this whole time being confused by their feelings about each other. I think Emily Henry wrote an okay romance last time I read her, so we will continue to see what Book Lovers is like, what it's about. I have heard mixed reviews, so we'll see. I forgot to mention that I also live in the southern hemisphere, so it's actually winter here, which is why I'm wearing long sleeves, because it is cold. And it is in fact also an incredibly dreary day today. Like, it is cold and raining and overcast, and we're just not about this. The next prompt is pretty easy, and it is do a buddy read with someone, and this one I'm like so beyond excited for because I'm buddy reading The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang with Kirsty. We are going to be reading The Poppy War in this readathon, and I'm so beyond excited. So The Poppy War is a fantasy novel. This is set in the 20th century China, and there is a fantastical element to this. So our main characters have some powers. It is a fantasy book, and I'm super excited because I have heard nothing but great things about The Poppy War. Actually, no, that's a lie. I have heard some bad reviews, and I'm conflicted because the people I trust have liked this, so I'm hoping that I also like this. But I get to read with Kirsty. Ah! Next is Easy Breezy, which is read a book under 200 pages. This is one that I also didn't have a book for. However, I have purchased some books that fit within a few of these prompts, and they're books I was going to read anyway. But for easy breezy, I will be reading Tales from the Cafe by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This is the second book for Before the Coffee Gets Cold. It is like the companion novel. I don't think it's a sequel necessarily, but it just has a few more stories about the cafe. Before the Coffee Gets Cold is a Japanese translated work by obviously Toshikazu Kawaguchi. It's set in Tokyo, Japan. There is a cafe, and in this cafe you can travel back in time. However, there's like several rules and regulations around what you need to do, and one of those is that you need to come back before your coffee gets cold, otherwise terrible things will happen. I loved Before the Coffee Gets Cold. So I have been waiting to get into Tales from the Cafe for so long, basically since I read the first one. It comes in at 192 pages, so we just meet the criteria for that. The next is a challenge space, and it's read a book entirely outside. For this, I am going to read a graphic novel because, aforementioned, I live in the southern hemisphere and it's cold, and I don't want to be outside for an extended period of time in the cold. So, Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe. This is, as I said, a graphic novel. It's a Hades Persephone retelling, and the artwork in this is beautiful. It's got a gorgeous color palette. I hear that it's fantastic. It's short. It will be easy to read outside, provided that I find a nice day that is not today. This is a webtoon that has been turned into a book, which means that I'm going to read it because I'm old and I do not understand the webtoon. But this has been on my TBR for a while now, so it's one of those ones that I'm like excited to get to because it's been waiting and calling my name for ages, and I've been like saving it for a moment just like this. So, Lore Olympus. We're going to take a breather because I'm starting to lose it. How are you? How is your Summer Splash TBR looking? I've seen many, so I'm hoping that there's like a few that I can go and watch. And the last prompt for the second row is Sunny Days, which is read a book with yellow on the cover. Now I have many books that I could have used for this one, but I have chosen Yoke by Mary H.K. Choi, which is again almost entirely yellow on the cover. But this is a family-based fiction following sisters Jane and June. They're pretty estranged, they don't talk to each other, they have their own issues going on. However, their worlds are turned upside down when June is actually diagnosed with cancer, and they are pushed back into living in each other's lives and living together again, and then dealing with all of the grief and turmoil that comes with being diagnosed with cancer, and also lots of other family dramas as well. I don't have the pretty hardcover version that's got the joining hands on the side, but I wish I did. But I have a little joining hands on this side, so that's cute in its own right. Then we have Pride, which is read a book by an author who is queer, or there is a queer main character. Lesbian necromancers. The cover of this is gorgeous. I just want to touch it forever. I wish that every book was made to feel like this. Maybe more people would read if books felt like this all the time. It feels so silky. Yeah, lesbian necromancers is where we're at for Gideon and the Night. Then we have Branch Out, which is read from a genre that you don't normally read from. Would it be a hot girl summer if I didn't read My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Atessa Moshfegh? This is like the book. This is the book to read, apparently. I'm skeptical because, again, I don't read from this genre. I don't read our unhinged women. This is a pool that I have not yet dipped my toes into, so we'll see how we go. My understanding of this is that we follow our main character, and she is like a young 20-something who lives in Manhattan in an apartment that's paid for by her inheritance, but then she has to like find herself, and she's a bit unhinged and like deal with emotions and stuff. I mean, we can relate, but we'll see how we go. But ironically, for the hot girl summer prompt, which is read a book written by a woman, I will be reading Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, which is another BookTok favorite, another one that everyone seems to love and everyone has read except for me. This is a Greek mythology retelling. I'm very confused by the plot of this. I've tried to look it up and I just still don't understand. I also can't pronounce Patroclus. I don't know. This is also a queer love story as well, so that fits that prompt too. But as I said, everyone loves it, and even Donna Tartt has blurbed this book. Wow. And it's winner of the Women's Prize, so I feel like this is the perfect book for this prompt. Again, it's been on my TBR for a while, so we'll get there, hopefully. This is a lot of books. This is a lot of books. The next prompt is Spice It Up, which is read a book by an author of color. And for this one, I will be reading Ace of Spades. This one is by Farida Abike Amide. Goodreads tells me that this one is a thriller with a shocking twist that delves deep into the heart of institutionalized racism from an exceptional YA voice. So basically, set in a private school, and it's Gossip Girl but with higher stakes. The next prompt is Summer Vacation, which is read a book that has been translated. As I said before, Tales of the Cafe could qualify for this one, also for being under 200 pages, also for having yellow on the cover. But for this one, I'm absolutely doing its own book for this because I got this copy of The Little Prince. Ah, it's so cute. Look at its little foiling and the little drawing, and then on the back it has a little fox with a quote. The Little Prince is a children's classic that is widely loved by many people. Oh, this is the one that has the elephant. Oh, I understand now. So many people have that as a tattoo. Oh, it all makes sense. Okay, I'm just beyond excited to jump into The Little Prince. It's so cute, and yeah, this is gonna be one of the ones that I read like first. The second last prompt is Sandcastle, which is read a book that has royalty in it. And for this one, I'll actually be listening to an audiobook, and it will be The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. This is the third book in the Cruel Prince series. I have listened to the first two, so I'm listening to the last one. But the series follows the main character, Jude. She is a human living in fairy world as she was adopted / taken in by the guy who killed her parents. It's convoluted. It's like I hate to love, but I'm confused, but I think it's a bully romance, and I'm really not sure what is happening with the characters. Finally, the last one is Share the Love, which is read a book that is someone else's favorite. And for this, I have picked one that's been on my TBR. This is one of those ones that it's been there for a while and I need to read it. It is Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. So Persepolis is a graphic novel, and this is currently sitting on Ali's favorites shelf. I just did a video of Ali reading Ali's favorite books, but this is another one that I've had on my TBR for a while of her favorites that I didn't read in that video. This is actually a graphic novel as well. It's specifically a bind up of the first 4 graphic novels. This paints an image of a childhood that is set in Iran, which is actually also kind of the setting of our author as well. So Goodreads says that this is a chronicle of a girlhood and adolescence at once outrageous and familiar, a young life entwined with the history of her country, yet filled with the universal trials and joys of growing up. It just sounds lovely, and it is one of Ali's favorites. So, Persepolis. But that's kind of it. And by kind of it, I mean that is it. Like what, 14 books? We'll give it our best shot. Let me know if you're reading any of these as well. I will be vlogging for this, so I'm hoping to try to vlog most days, but we'll see how we go. July also happens to be my busiest month of the year thus far. So that's it for the Summer Splash TBR for me. I'm not gonna lift them all because they're heavy and I'm tired. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're having a fantastic day or night or what time it is where you are in the world, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!